What's up, and welcome back to the College Basketball Bracket Science Podcast. I'm Brandon Jadich. I am your host for today. It is a special edition of the Bracket Science Podcast, as today we are going to rank 1 through 80 the Power 5 conference teams, also including Gonzaga and St. Mary's. They're as close to Power 5 as we can get. Gonzaga probably going to be a top 10 preseason AP poll team next year. St. Mary's probably hovering in that 30 to 40 range. Maybe might squeeze into the ranking in terms of the AP voters. So we want to talk about both of them as long as every other Power 5 team. Remember, it's not the Power 6 in basketball anymore. No Pac-12. We're going to talk about Big 12, Big 10, SEC, ACC, and the Big East, along with Gonzaga and St. Mary's. We're going to talk about all their rosters, so this might be a longer show. So bear with me. The top 10 obviously going to be the most interesting to start with. We're going to go 1 through 80, not 80 to 1. 1 through 80. If you're new to us, hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Grab the like. Go follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bracket Science with 2 S's. Also on TikTok, Bracket Science with 2 S's. Posting all these graphics. You're going to see a lot of graphics today for those watching on YouTube. For some of our rankings, that's some of the stuff that we post all over our social medias. Also, if you're new, you won't know, that we do talk about some of the notable movements that have happened. We have to start with Dan Hurley. Of course, that was what broke the news, and there's really no news to tell, which is good news because he is staying at UConn. Did not take the Lakers deal. Good for college basketball, good for America that Dan Hurley is staying at UConn. It's rumored that NIL stuff and how much he's going to make at UConn is going to be over $8 million compared to what was about $12 million, or not $12 million, it was what? 8 years, $70 million is what he was offered, or 6 years, $70 million. So it's close. It's close for money-wise, so it wasn't enough money to drag him away from UConn. He says he's dreamed of being in the NBA, but he's sticking in college, and that's good for our sport. As a college basketball podcast, really excited that he's coming back to stay and try and repeat for the third time, be a 3-time national champion 3 years in a row. So that's Dan Hurley. There's not that much to talk about. He's staying in college basketball. Good. Ugonna Onyenso, in terms of the transfer portal, transferred to Kansas State, joins Jerome Tang over at Kansas State. Pretty good pickup for Kansas State. Pretty good overall transfer portal class for Kansas State. We'll talk about their roster here in a little bit. Jameer Watkins, who was one of probably the best remaining transfer in the past week, he's staying at Florida State. He withdrew from the transfer portal, heard it was St. John's, Michigan, or then there were some rumors of coming back to Florida State. Ends up staying at Florida State. We'll see what Jameer Watkins can do if he can carry that team, get them back in the NCAA tournament. Trayvon Brazile staying at Arkansas, is not transferring. He's staying at Arkansas, will be the lone remaining piece from last year's Arkansas team. And Arkansas did need him. It was a perfect fit. Big guy. They needed a 4, and that is exactly what Trayvon Brazile is. Staying at Arkansas. Booga Poplar going from Miami to Villanova, his hometown. He's from Philly, going to Villanova to kind of try and save Kyle Neptune's job is what it seems like. Garway Duel committed to Seton Hall, going from Providence to Seton Hall, staying in conference. Was disappointing last year at Providence, but he's got a high upside, so this is a pretty good pickup for Seton Hall. Tyon Grant Foster is back to Grand Canyon. He was one of the biggest mid-major guys in the country last year. Remember, he started at Kansas, actually collapsed, ended up at Grand Canyon, and ended up leading them to a 12 seed and won a game against St. Mary's in the NCAA tournament. And then Wesley Yates is going from Washington to USC, which is Big 10 to Big 10, believe it or not. He's going to USC. Good pickup for Eric Musselman there. Shaquille Moore from Mississippi State is going to Kansas. This happened about 2 hours after Elmarco Jackson was announced that he was out for the season with a torn patellar tendon. Now, they didn't go pick up Shaquille Moore because of this. It just happened that it happened to happen at the same time, basically. So kind of just evens itself out there. Probably more of a loss than a win, I would think. Elmarco Jackson kind of had high expectations. Obviously, going into last year, didn't perform. This year, a little bit higher with that sophomore season, but unfortunately for him, been a tough college career so far. Going to be out for this season. Torn patellar tendon. And then Kanan Catchings decommitted from Purdue, so he is still out there. Reopened his recruiting. Not going to Purdue. Heard it was a playing time thing. We'll see. Kanan Catchings not going to Purdue. And then that is it. That's it for the notable results. There was a little bit of Twitter beef, for those who checked it out, Hunter Dickinson, Tyler Perry. Remember Tyler Perry from Kansas State last year? Hunter Dickinson, obviously, at Kansas. A little bit involved in the Coleman Hawkins recruiting. Coleman Hawkins threw a little thing, maybe going to Kansas State. And Hunter Dickinson's like, hey, why don't you come to the real school, the real Kansas school, come to Kansas. Tyler Perry didn't like it. Hunter Dickinson let Tyler Perry know that he only scored 2 points in their game in Lawrence, Kansas last year. So it was a whole thing, but something to keep up with for that Coleman Hawkins recruiting. Those are really there's only 2 transfer guys left, Coleman Hawkins and Arthur Kaluma, that will really make a huge impact where people are getting their money thrown at them. Or rumors that it might be some of the Alex Carabans, Liam McNeely's from UConn if Dan Hurley were to leave. So that would have given the UConn players 30 days of wiggle room to enter the transfer portal since their coach was leaving. Not leaving, though, so it doesn't matter. UConn going to be at the top somewhere this year once again. All right, that's all the news we got to get to. Now, this is going to be the heart of the show, 1 through 80. We're going to talk about every single Power 5 team, plus Gonzaga and St. Mary's, as mentioned. We're going to start my preseason number 1 team. Is not shocking. It's Alabama. It is not Kansas. It's Alabama. Alabama, Mark Sears, Aiden Holloway, Chris Youngblood, Grant Nelson, Cliff Omori as their starting 5. I believe that's what their starting 5 will be. That is fantastic. Mark Sears can score the ball like no other. He's my preseason player of the year. We mentioned that on the last podcast. Aiden Holloway looking to make a big jump from his disappointing freshman year at Auburn, but he can really score the ball. Chris Youngblood at USF can really score the ball. We saw what Grant Nelson could do last year. They lacked defense. They picked up Cliff Omori, who averaged 2.9 blocks per game last year, in not as many minutes as you'd think to average 2.9 blocks per game. Then they also have, their bench would be a starting 5 at just about anywhere in the country. Latrell Wrightsell, who might start. I'm curious to see if they bring Youngblood off the bench or Wrightsell. I have it as Wrightsell right now. Darian Reed, 5-star freshman. Jaron Stevenson, who also could be thrown in that starting lineup. They have so many guys. Houston Millett, the transfer from Pepperdine. Then Muhammad Diabate. This backup 5 is loaded, not as loaded as their starting 5. I think they're the deepest team in the country. Coming off of their Final Four run, I think Alabama should be the number 1 team in the country. Mark Sears scoring 20 a game. Aiden Holloway will be up there more so. Cliff Omori with the defense. I love this team. I love Nate Oates. I think they'll be number 2 in the preseason AP poll. I do think they'll give the benefit of the doubt to Kansas because their name is Kansas. I do have Kansas number 2. DeJuan Harris back again. Rylan Griffin, the transfer from Alabama, ironic enough. AJ Storr, the transfer from Wisconsin. And then bring back KJ Adams and Hunter Dickinson. That's a solid starting 5. They've got shooting. Now, last year they had a good starting 5. They didn't have any depth. This year they have depth. Zeke Mayo coming off the bench to average over 19 a game last year at South Dakota State. Flory Badunga, 5-star freshman. Shaquille Moore, as we mentioned, that transfer from Mississippi State. Jamari McDowell and Noah Shelby. This team should be fun to watch. Very excited to see what Kansas can do this year with their depth, with their experience. DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, and Hunter Dickinson played together. It's going to be fun to watch. The addition of AJ Storr and Rylan Griffin, premier scorers. It's going to be a fun team to watch. It's going to be between Alabama and Kansas as the number 1 team. I fully expect it. Could be UConn. UConn's won the last 2 national championships. You got to give them some respect. Obviously, they got the best coach in the country. The Los Angeles Lakers wanted their coach. I have them as my number 3 team. I have them at 3rd right now. Now, if Dan Hurley were to leave and all these people were to stay, I think I was going to drop them down to 7 is what I think they were going to do. So Dan Hurley is a big piece. He's terrific. He's the best coach in college basketball, if I say so myself. Their starting lineup looks like Hassan Diarra, Aiden Mahaney, the transfer from St. Mary's, Liam McNeely, the star freshman, Alex Caravan, very, very experienced, 2 straight national championships for him, Samson Johnson as the starting 5. It might be Terrace Reed as the starting 5, but I think it's going to be Samson Johnson. I got Samson Johnson as the starting 5, and then Terrace Reed, first one coming off the bench, along with Jalen Stewart, Solomon Ball, who might take big leaps this year. Ahmed Noel is their freshman, and Yusuf Singer, he's their big guy, their 3rd big guy that's going to have to get in probably 5 to 10 minutes a game this year and kind of make a big impact. Long shot blocking center. So they've got the guys. They've definitely got the guys. They've got the scoring. They got the pieces that Dan Hurley likes. He likes that certain type of player that will play for his team, not just play for himself. I think they got it. I like what they're doing. I'm not that high on Aiden Mahaney as much as some people. I do love Liam McNeely, though. I think that was awesome. Awesome that he's going there. Him and Alex Caravan. And Diarra is underappreciated as well. The roster is not as good as last year. But you know what we said last year? Their roster is not as good as the year before, and they were a better team last year. So watch out. Watch out for UConn. At number 4, I do have Houston. Houston. Coming off a 1 seed, the second overall seed in March Madness last year. They lost Jamal Shedd. They're All-American. They brought in Miles Uzan, though. He came from Oklahoma. They do bring back Emmanuel Sharp, LJ Cryer, Javier Francis, and Jawan Roberts. This is a terrific, it's everyone. Everyone is back basically except Jamal Shedd. I like it. I really like this lineup. Terrence Arsenault, also back from his injury. Joseph Tugler, Malik Wilson, Chase McCarthy, and Jacob McFarland. I like their starting 5 a lot. I had them number 1 for a while until Kansas and Alabama just basically loaded up. And then UConn got the commit of Aiden Mahaney and Liam McNeely. So Houston, right in that conversation as well. We'll see how they perform going forward. Really excited to see this Big 12. Let's stick in the Big 12 at number 5. I got Baylor. Baylor brought in Jeremy Roach, the star point guard from Duke. They also got Jaden Nunn back and VJ Edgecombe, who's one of my favorite freshmen. Watch the name VJ Edgecombe. He's going to be incredible this year. He'll be the Jacoby Walter of Baylor this year, except he's got experience around him now, and he's got people who have played together like Jaden Nunn. We'll talk about Langston Love here in a second. Jason Ace-Moda. It's going to be a fun team to watch. My favorite pickup, I think, of the entire offseason is Norchad Omier going to Baylor. That is incredible. I love watching Norchad Omier play. I didn't love watching him from Miami last year because Miami was horrible. He got out of there. I think it was the right move for him. And to pick Baylor, I think is just a perfect fit. Norchad Omier and Jeremy Roach coexisting with Jaden Nunn and Edgecombe, who can just score. It's going to be fun. At the 5, I do have Josh Ojianwuna. He's been there a couple years. We'll see how he performs within the next year. Look for him to need to make a little bit of a leap for this team to be a true national title contender. We mentioned Langston Love and Jason Ace-Moda coming off the bench. They also have Rob Wright, Jalen Celestine, and Yenis Njongo. It's going to be a fun team. I'm high on Baylor right now. Betting-wise, odd-wise, Baylor's my pick. Baylor's my pick to win it all. Preseason, way too early preseason. I got Baylor. At number 6, North Carolina. North Carolina, obviously we have to mention R.J. Davis is back, the best player. He will probably be whoever does the voting preseason player of the year. He'll probably be the preseason player of the year. It's not my pick. I mentioned Mark Sears already is my pick. R.J. Davis is not a bad pick whatsoever. He's incredible. He's back. They also bring back Elliot Cadeau, the freshman last year. If he improves his shooting, he will be an incredible piece to this North Carolina team, along with the freshman Ian Jackson coming in. They also brought in Cade Tyson from Belmont, sharpshooter, replacing that Cormac Ryan role. If you've been with us before, you know that Cade Tyson, I've been saying it, is better than Cormac Ryan. I really think he's going to have a better year than Cormac Ryan did last year. Cormac Ryan was just so streaky. I think Cade Tyson's just a better overall player. And then Ven Lubin was brought in, Ven Allen Lubin from Vanderbilt. I think he'll probably start at the 5. They also have Jalen Washington and Jalen Withers coming off the bench, big men. Will they start at the 5? I'm not sure. I think I would lean towards Ven Lubin. But the 6th man will be Seth Trimble. Seth Trimble is back. I was shocked to see he was coming back because he kind of knows he's going to come off the bench, and he is a star. He is a terrific player, great defender, can also score on the offensive end. He's back. Drake Powell is a freshman and is also back, and they also have Zayden High, who will eat up some minutes for North Carolina next year. All right, behind North Carolina, I have their rivals, Duke. I feel like 7 might be a little high on Duke, yet I do like Duke higher. If you see the graphic, it's already been spoiled. You see the graphic, that I do have Duke above Gonzaga and Iowa State. I just am a little lower on Gonzaga and Iowa State than most people, but I'm not hating on anyone that has Duke 9, 10, 11. I don't think they're as they're 3rd in betting markets as the favorite to win the national championship behind Kansas and UConn. I think that's way too high. Tyrese Proctor is back, so is Caleb Foster. Everyone seemed to love Caleb Foster last year. I really didn't. I thought he was okay. wasn't my favorite. Tyrese Proctor, we can all admit, was disappointing last year. He battled some injuries. Give him the benefit of the doubt. He's got the star potential there. And obviously Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is supposed to be their guy. It's so tough in today's day and age where everyone is old to build around a freshman, and that's exactly what they're doing. It's a little bit John Calipari-like. It's not my favorite thing. We even saw, they did that with, they had Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett. They had both of them. They built around them, and they didn't go that deep. They weren't, they were the favorite to win the national championship, and I can't remember how far that team made it. It was either the Sweet 16 or Elite. I think it was the Elite 8. I know they got beat by Michigan State. I can't remember who it was. I think it was the Elite 8. I'm pretty sure. But it's so tough. That was years ago, too. Now it's even more so. All these COVID years, all these extra eligibility, all the transfers, loading rosters. It's going to be tough, which is why I'm a little lower on Duke. I have them at 7. As mentioned, I think Rothstein has them at like 11 or 12 even. I don't hate it, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I see the potential. Tyrese Proctor should break out. He should break out. We'll see. We'll see if he does it. He was disappointing last year. They did bring in Mason Gillis from Purdue, and Duke kind of all seems to think that's... Now, bear in mind, I was huge on Mason Gillis last year. I'm like, he is an important piece to Purdue. Coming off the bench, he is an elite shooter, but Duke's like, yeah, this is our savior. This is our experienced guy. But he's not that. But I think he's a good shooter. He's a good role player, but he, like, at Duke, I don't know. I'm rooting for Mason Gillis. I really loved what he did at Purdue. I wish he'd have stayed at Purdue because I think he would have made a great impact again this year, but... He's gone. He's at Duke. I think he'll be starting at the 4. And then Kaman Malak is their center, who I love. I am excited to see Kaman Malak. I hope he can coexist with Cooper Flagg. We'll see. Coming off the bench, they're deep. Duke is deep, but they're deep with a lot of freshmen, though. They are deep with freshmen, except for Malik Brown. Malik Brown came from Syracuse. Sion James came from Tulane. So those are 2 experienced guys coming off the bench. That's pretty good. They got a good roster. This is why I have them above Gonzaga and Iowa State. Barely. I'm a little less in on their starting 5, but I see the depth. I do see the depth. They also got Con Knuppel, Patrick Ngonga, and Isaiah Evans, a few freshmen in there. It's going to be a fun team. Without a doubt, Cooper Flagg's going to bring a lot of attention, so we'll see what they do next year. That's one of the teams I'm most intrigued by, as is most. Now let's talk about a team not in the Power 5. I got them at number 8, Gonzaga. Gonzaga brought back just about everyone. They got Ryan Nembhard, Nolan Hickman, Michael Ajayi. Ajayi is the transfer from Pepperdine. Ben Gregg, Graham Ike coming off the bench. Caliph Battle, Steele Venters, Braden Huff, Dusty Stromer, and Junsuk Yah. This is going to be a fun team, without a doubt. I don't think they were as good as people thought last year. Everyone's like, oh, they're returning everyone from last year. This is a national title contender. Yeah, I think they're going to be good. I wouldn't put them as a favorite to win the national title right now at all. Been hearing a lot of Gonzaga fans like, yeah, thank God we got Nembhard and Ike back. I'm like, I don't think Graham Ike would start some places, quite frankly. I think he's good. I think he's good for Gonzaga, but he's you have to build your offense around Graham Ike, and he's not that kind of guy where it's like, yeah, he just gets you bucket after bucket. Like, he's good. Don't get me wrong. But if he were to transferred to Kansas, I don't think he'd start. It's tough to say. This might be a horrible take, but I'm just a little lower on Graham Ike. Same with Ryan Nembhard, a little lower on Ryan Nembhard. I do love Nolan Hickman and Michael Ajayi. I think those are going to be fun. I hope Nembhard he had a horrible 3-point shooting year last year, especially the first half of the year, but I do like their bench. I like their depth. Caliph Battle can go off at any time. Steele Venters is back from his injury. Braden Huff is a terrific player, and he's probably their 8th man right now. Now remember Dusty Stromer. Dusty Stromer kind of took the world by storm last year. He wasn't that good. I'm not going to lie. He was okay early and then just wasn't that good. He'll probably be their 9th man. But I see the pieces. I just don't see the star. I don't see the star power because Graham Ike is kind of like what... How do I describe this? He's just not the guy that wins you a national championship. I'm sorry, Graham Ike. I think you're a terrific player, but I think if you fit into the system more and wasn't the have to go to scorer, I'm a little worried about Gonzaga. I think they get a 2 or 3 seed this year. I'm not going to say they get a 1 seed. I think they might get a 1 seed. They're going to be good. They're playing in the West Coast Conference. They shouldn't lose that many games, but I don't see them as a national title threat right now, quite frankly. Same goes for this next team. Now I'm ranking these teams top 10, and I'm speaking negatively on them. So obviously these are great teams. It's just teams that I've seen people are saying, yes, national championship, national championship. I don't see it. Iowa State, I don't see it. I thought they were good last year, but we were all just waiting all year. If you ask any analysis, like, yes, they were great. They were terrific. They dominated the Big 12. You're just kind of waiting on them to choke, and they really didn't. They lost in the Sweet 16 to Illinois, which was not bad. Big 10 champion Illinois. It wasn't bad, but it was just one of those teams where you just never really thought, like, yeah, they got the firepower. They're national championship. I feel the same way again this year. I just don't think, I think Taman Lipsey is great. Keyshawn Gilbert is great. Curtis Jones, Milan Momcilovic, Deshaun Jackson. That's their starting five right now with Josh Jefferson from St. Mary's coming off the bench. He's not my favorite. I thought he was okay last year. I thought he was good, but not that guy that comes in and you're like, yep, that makes all the difference. Like, I think Caleb Battle makes a lot more of a difference than Josh Jefferson does. So we got Nate Heiss, Brandon Chatfield, Nojus Indrusitis, JT Rock. I don't know who the bottom two people are. I'm not going to lie. I know who the top 8 are, and I love Taman Lipsey. I think Taman Lipsey is going to have to be that guy. Him and Keyshawn Gilbert are terrific. Their backcourt is terrific. Momcilovic was good last year. I hate using the word regression, but I'm just curious to see what he ends up doing this year if he continues to make shots at the pace that he was last year, or if he gets kind of figured out a little bit. Iowa State's the one that's up in the air for me this year in terms of the Big 12. I'm not sure. I mean, they won the Big 12 championship last year. Like, they were that good. They were that good, but they just never really were like even they dominated Houston in the national championship, and many more people were picking Houston to win the national championship than Iowa State. I get it, but we'll see. We'll see about Iowa State. Number 10, Arizona. Arizona is going to fool me again this year. I love their roster every single year. Every year I'm like, this team is so big. This team is talented. This team has 5 options. And then last year, they lose in the Sweet 16 to Clemson, who got beat by 30 to Boston College in the ACC tournament. Caleb Love is back. Jaden Bradley is back. Jaden Bradley, I love, by the way. I'm excited to see Jaden Bradley. I like the pieces they added. I like how they go from, like, you see some schools that go from, like, the best player on a SWAC team or the best player on a, but these are the best players from the mid-major last year. Anthony Del Orso and Trey Townsend. I think those are legitimate stars. Coming from Campbell, coming from Oakland, I get it, it's small, but these were legit division, like high Division I, Big 12 players playing on Oakland, playing on Campbell. They also have Krivas coming back, 7'2", Umar Ballo left, so that's going to open up minutes for Krivas, which I thought they should have used Krivas a lot more last year. They didn't. Hopefully makes that leap this year, because, I mean, 7'2", that's an advantage. I love their starting 5. I hope Caleb Love works the ball a little bit. He was the Pac-12 Player of the Year last year. It's an experience playing with Caleb Love. You've heard it from other people, I'm sure. It's Caleb Love experience. What will he do this year? Will he continue to make shots at the level he does? Will he keep forcing shots? Like, I mean, he shot him out of that game against Clemson. He really did. So they're going to need the Trey Townsends to step up, and I hope they work together. Tommy Lloyd has not made it past the Sweet 16 yet, I don't think. Fact check me on that. He might. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he hasn't made past the Sweet 16. Obviously, they lost to Princeton 2 years ago, and then Clemson last year. They kind of overperform in the regular season every year, then underperform in the tournament. Tommy Lloyd, he's only been there a couple years. Arizona's a 2 seed just about every year, so you can't say he's doing a bad job. I'd like to see him make the next step in the NCAA tournament. I'm rooting for him. Coming off the bench, they're going to have Carter Bryant, KJ Lewis, Toby Awaka, Jamari Phillips, and Henry Visar. Carter Bryant and Jamari Phillips are the freshmen. KJ Lewis was there last year. And Toby Awaka, the transfer from Tennessee. Henry Visar was also there last year. Moving on, number 11, I do have Auburn. I think the top 10 is pretty set, and I think Auburn is like the legitimate 11th team. Like, I was actually filling this out pretty easily, and I'm like, yeah, those seem like they fit pretty well. I've seen a few people have Auburn as high as like number 8. I got them in the 11 spot. I think they're like comfortably in my 11 spot right now. JP Pegues, transfer from Furman, will be their point guard. Miles Kelly, the transfer from Georgia Tech. Denver Jones, Chad Baker-Mazara, and Jonai Broom. A lot of people have very high hopes for Jonai Broom, as they did last year, and he performed well. I've mentioned a little bit, I'm a little lower on Jonai Broom than some, but I do like this starting five. I loved the addition of Miles Kelly. I thought that was terrific. Chris Moore, Dylan Cardwell, Tahad Pettiford, Chaney Johnson, and Jackie Howard coming off the bench for Auburn and Bruce Pearl's squad. I like this team a lot. I didn't really like them last year, but they're going to grow. They're going to learn. They're going to live and learn from that loss to Yale. I like Miles Kelly a lot more than I liked Aden Holloway. I did not like Aden Holloway at all last year, which is just completely hypocritical of me because I put Alabama number 1 with Aden Holloway in the starting lineup, but I think they got enough pieces around him. I don't think Auburn had enough pieces around Aden Holloway and Jonai Broom last year. Chad Baker-Mazara was there. Denver Jones was there. I didn't think they were quite at the level of they were supposed to play UConn, beat Yale, and beat San Diego State, then play UConn. People had them beating UConn. They weren't that level, but they were still, they should have beaten Yale. Don't get me wrong. They should have beaten Yale. Moving on. The first team from the Big Ten, yes, are on number 12, the first team of the Big Ten. What you'll know about the Big Ten in my rankings, a lot of good teams. Not really any just I think they're a national title contender. The first team I do have is Purdue. Yeah, I don't know. Got Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Miles Colvin, Cam Heide, and Trey Kaufman-Wren. The reason I have them first is because of one player, and you might think I'm going to say Braden Smith. It's because of Trey Kaufman-Wren. I think Trey Kaufman-Wren is going to have himself a year. He's going to step into that Zach Edey role. And for those who didn't watch Trey Kaufman-Wren because Zach Edey was just eating up all the touches, Trey Kaufman-Wren has phenomenal footwork. If he gets a little bit more aggressive and steps into that role of being the guy, oh man, I love what I'm going to see from Trey Kaufman-Wren. Along with Braden Smith, obviously, great player. Fletcher Lawyer is going to have to be better. He's going to have to make shots. He's going to have to be the Cormac Ryan. Miles Colvin, we'll see. A lot of potential there. Coming off the bench, they do have Caleb First, Will Berg, Daniel Jacobson, who everyone loves, the big 7'3" guy coming in, and then Jakari Harris. We'll see. We will see. They got some serious height coming off the bench, which is just fearful. Yeah, I have no clue about those players. So will they really step in? And Zach Edey was one of a kind. People are going to eat their words when they're like, "Oh, he's just big." But yeah, these guys are big too, and they're not doing what Zach Edey was doing. So keep that in mind. At number 13, I got another Big Ten team, and it is UCLA, coming off an incredibly disappointing season, yet I love what they did in the transfer portal last year. Their starting five looks like Dylan Andrews coming back, Sky Clark, the transfer from Louisville, Sebastian Mack back, Kobe Johnson going from USC to UCLA, and then Eric Daly Jr. from Oklahoma State. Then they also brought in Tyler Bilodeau. They still have Lazar Stefanovic, Ade Mara, Trent Perry, William Kyle. Lazar Stefanovic and Ade Mara could make big jumps. A little bit disappointing last year. Ade Mara was supposed to be like a lottery pick last year and just never really panned out. He might have that sophomore breakout and move into that starting spot. That's a little what I'm iffy on. I'm not that high on Eric Daly Jr., but I think Ade Mara might pop off a little bit and end up in that starting lineup. We'll see. At number 14, a team that's flying under the radar. I've seen them like mid-20s in just about everyone's rankings, yet I love them. Texas Tech. I'm excited for Texas Tech this year. Elijah Hawkins, great pass-first point guard. Chase McMillian, Kevin Overton, Darian Williams, and JT Toppin. I love this starting five. Darian Williams is terrific. I think they lost Pop Isaacs, obviously. I think that was better for their team. I think it was just best for both parties for Pop Isaacs to move on. Wasn't my favorite watching him just huck up. I mean, there were some games where he was terrific. There were some games where I'm like, this team's got the pieces. It's just not all the way there. Chance McMillian, I think it's going to be fun to watch. Kevin Overton was terrific last year at Indiana State. Darian Williams, as we already mentioned, might be their leading scorer this year. Him or JT Toppin, who is like this. He'll probably be his last year of college, and he should go to the NBA. It's kind of what I'm thinking, but I love that starting five. And then Federico coming off the bench. It's really good, the transfer from Pitt. They also got Jack Francis. Then I'm not quite sure who the next two people are. I'm just reading off the list that I got written down. Emeli Yalaho, he might be a freshman, and then Christian Anderson. I'm not sure. I know it's not that deep, but their top 7, I really like it. I really like their lineup. I love their starting 5. I think they're going to be that sneaky, really good team in the Big 12 where they're like, yeah, they finished 6th or 7th in the Big 12, but they're a 4 seed. They're a 5 seed. I think that's going to be Texas Tech this year. I'm looking forward to them. And number 15, I do have Arkansas. Now, I'm not hating on Arkansas or anyone that has Arkansas like 10, 11, 12. I like Arkansas's roster a lot. I wasn't comfortable putting them above Texas Tech, a team so experienced, playing not playing together. I don't know. Just I'm not even going to elaborate on it. I really like Arkansas. That's all I'm going to say. DJ Wagner, John L. Davis, Adu Thiero, Trayvon Brazil, and Jonas Adu. That's a lot of experience for a John Calipari team. You got DJ Wagner, a sophomore, John L. Davis, a senior, Adu Thiero, a junior, Trayvon Brazil, a junior, Jonas Adu, a senior. I think that's their ages. Fact check me on that. And then you got Boogie Flan, Carter Knox, Vonimir Visic, Billy Richmond coming off the bench. That's spectacular. Curious to see what he does with the lineup. He's got so much firepower. I mean, Boogie Flan coming off the bench is what I have right now. He might start, and maybe Thiero comes off the bench. I'm not sure. This team has a lot of options. I mean, we're not even talking about Carter Knox being in the starting lineup. Just about anywhere else Carter Knox would be in the starting lineup. So this is a phenomenal roster. I'm excited to see what Arkansas does this year. At number 16, we're going to stick in the SEC for a couple teams here. Let's go to Tennessee. Tennessee had the big commitment of Chaz Lanier from North Florida. They also got Zakai Ziegler back as their point guard, SEC defending defensive player of the year. Darlin Stone Dubar also was brought in along with Igor Milicic. Felix Okpara from Ohio State. Coming off the bench, they're deep. They're very deep. They got Jemai Mashak, Jordan Gainey, JP Estrella, Cameron Carr, Cade Phillips. Jordan Gainey might make a big jump this year, but he's just kind of in that same role. Last year, it was either supposed to be him or Connect, and it was obviously Connect. Now it's like they brought in Lanier, they brought in Dubar, and then it's kind of Gainey behind him. The only worry I have about Tennessee is their big man. I know some people were like, yeah, get rid of Jonas Adu and bring in Felix Okpara. I live close to Ohio State, been to a lot of Ohio State basketball games. Felix Okpara is not going to be Jonas Adu. I'm telling you that. That's where I'm a little bit worried. I'm curious to see if JP Estrella can really make a jump, because I think Felix Okpara is big. He's a decent shot blocker, but yeah, we'll see. That's what I'm a little worried about. Moving on, number 16, or 17, that was 16. 16 was Tennessee. 17 is Kentucky. You can flip-flop Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, whatever you want. I like Arkansas's roster a little bit more than Kentucky's, but it's close. I really like Kentucky's roster as well. Lamont Butler, Kerr Kriisa, Jackson Robinson, Andrew Carr, Amari Williams. I'm a little hesitant on their backcourt. That's the only thing I'm a little worried about. Jackson Robinson, Andrew Carr, and Amari Williams, I think I'd put up against just about anyone in the country. I love those three as their forward center. I think that's terrific. Lamont Butler is just, at San Diego State, I was always a little wishy-washy on him. Kerr Kriisa is a terrific shooter. They also have Kobe Brea coming off the bench, the best shooter in the portal from last year. So having that as the sixth man, and then Brandon Garrison to back up the bigs, it's deep. We haven't even mentioned Otega Owe. He was supposed to be like their guy for a while until they brought in all these guys, the Andrew Carr, Jackson Robinson, Kerr Kriisa. Otega Owe might start in place of Kerr Kriisa. I don't think he will, because I think he can almost Calipari's team. Mark Pope's team is already so deep that it's like you got 8 guys. You have 8 starters on your team, plus Colin Chandler and Travis Perry, the freshman. So it's like I don't know what they do with the lineup. This is probably what I would do have one shooter. Like, they got numerous shooters, obviously, but one like specific shooter, Kerr Kriisa, Kobe Brea. I would split them up, one starting, one off the bench, and then have Otega Owe, that big physical presence, with Brandon Garrison coming off the bench. This is what I would do. I love this roster. I'm curious to see what they do. I wish they'd have gotten if DJ Wagner would have stayed there. I know DJ Wagner was not terrific last year, but if they had someone like him, that would be a stellar team, and I would probably have them closer to 10. It's just their backcourt I'm a little worried about. At number 18, I do have Indiana. I've hated on Indiana long enough. I got them into the teens now at 18. Miles Rice, Kanan Carlisle, Mackenzie Mbako, Malik Renew, Umar Ballo. Coming off the bench, they have Luke Goody, Trey Galloway, Gabe Cupps, Langdon Hatton, and Bryson Tucker. I like it. I like this team. Will it all fit? We're going to find out. I've talked about it enough. We're going to see. They got a great roster. We'll see if they can put it all together. At number 19, I have Texas A&M, Wade Taylor, Manny Obaseki, Solomon Washington, Anderson Garcia, Henry Coleman. Coming off the bench, Farrell Payne. Farrell Payne might start instead of Henry Coleman or Anderson Garcia. Not sure. They also got Zurich Phelps, Jace Carter, CJ Wilcher, and George Turkson. I had Wade Taylor as a preseason first-team All-American as of right now for next year. I think his team around him is healthier. They're better. They're more experienced. I think this is Wade Taylor's year to show who really, like, people know Wade Taylor's good. But I think this is where he shows, yeah, Wade Taylor is really, really good. This team goes where Wade Taylor leads them. I like Obaseki as well, along with Anderson Garcia, Solomon Washington. I like this team. Hopefully Henry Coleman can get healthy and back to what he's done in previous years. At number 20, I do have Walter Clayton Jr. Only Walter Clayton Jr.? No, I got Florida, led by Walter Clayton Jr. Walter Clayton Jr. will be their best player next year. No doubt about it. He is a star, one of the best players in the SEC. They also brought back Will Richard. They brought in Elijah Martin from FAU. I've mentioned it on this before. I'll say it again. He's not my favorite transfer. When he went to Florida, I'm like, man, I thought he would end up at somewhere like I didn't think he'd end up at a high major school. I'll phrase it that way, but he's probably going to start. They also have Sam Alexis, Alex Condone. Coming off the bench, Thomas Hall, Denzel Aberdeen, Olivier Rokes, Isaiah Brown, and Ruben Chignello. I like it. I like the roster. I like Walter Clayton and Will Richard being there for another year, along with Alex Condone, but it's good. It's good. It's not my favorite. Last year, they could score the ball with anyone. Got a little unlucky with their first round pick against, or first round, what word am I looking for here? Their draw against Colorado, because both teams could just really score it, and that was one of the most fun games we saw, but both teams had a ton of potential. Moving on, staying in the SEC, at number 21, I have Texas. Jordan Pope came in from Oregon State. Trey Johnson, Tremont Mark, the transfer from Arkansas. They also got Jason Kent, Caden Shendrick. Coming off the bench, Shendell Weaver, who I love Shendell Weaver, by the way. Nicholas Cody, Julian Larry. That's going to be a fun team. Fun top 8 right there. Keep that 8 in mind. Jordan Pope, Trey Johnson, Tremont Mark, Jason Kent, Caden Shendrick, Shendell Weaver, Nicholas Cody, Julian Larry. That's a good starting 8. I like their 8. I'm a little hesitant on Rodney Terry, but we'll see if he can put it together this year. They also got Zarika Nina and Devin Pryor. I like Texas. We'll see if they can finally put it all together this year. At number 22, I do have Cincinnati. Cincinnati in the Big 12. As we mentioned a million times, they almost put it together last year. They had the pieces. Kept saying to myself, next year, watch out for Cincinnati as long as they all stay. Most of them did. Day Thomas, Jizzle James, Simus Lacucius, Dan Skillings, and Dylan Mitchell, the transfer coming in. They lost Victor Lakin. They now have Dylan Mitchell from Texas as I think he'll start at the 5. Also coming off the bench, Aris Badongo, CJ Frederick, Connor Hickman, just Arrington Page, Tyler Betsy. It's deep. It's good. I love their backcourt. I love Dan Skillings. I think this team's going to be really good this year. I think they're going to be top half of the Big 12, the expanded Big 12 this year. Number 23, sticking in the state of Ohio. Let's talk about Ohio State. Ohio State with the new hire of Jake Diebler. Jake Diebler coming in and did a great job in the transfer portal. They bring back Bruce Thornton, which is huge, their best player from last year. They also brought back, Michie Johnson. Michie Johnson started at Ohio State, went to South Carolina, made a name of himself, and is back at Ohio State, probably NIL related. Micah Parrish also brought in from San Diego State, Sean Stewart from Duke, Aaron Bradshaw from Kentucky. A lot of 5 stars on this team. Coming off the bench, Devin Royal, Evan Mahaffey, Colin White, Junie Mobley. Colin White is on here twice. Colin White, go away twice. All right, that is a deep team, though. I really like it. 1 through 9, I think they got a lot of talent, especially that backcourt, Bruce Thornton, Michie Johnson. Hopefully they can coexist well because both can really score the ball. But both they're different players. They're different. So I'm optimistic about Ohio State. Now, just for the heck of it, let's stay in the state of Ohio once again. Let's go down to Xavier. Xavier, I'm looking to rebound this year. Davion McKnight, Dante Maddox, Ryan Conwell, Jerome Hunter, Zach Fremantle. As their starting five, coming off the bench, John Hoogley, Dalen Swain, Marcus Foster, Trey Green, and Lassina Traore. This team would have been a tournament team last year if this was the team that got hurt by injuries more than anyone in America last year. It was Xavier. They still showed signs where they can compete with anyone without some of their best players. Now, I wish Desmond Cloud would have stayed. I probably would have had him ranked top 20. Got him 24 right now, but I'm optimistic about Xavier next year. Zach Fremantle, know that name. Zach Fremantle going to be a stud next year. Yes, you'll notice I have them second in the Big East, just behind UConn. They're the second team we mentioned. Third in the Big East and 25th overall. I do have Marquette. Now, you can flip either one of these. I'm a little less optimistic about Marquette than I was to start the offseason. Now, losing Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro is obviously huge. Their starting lineup looks like Stevie Mitchell, Cam Jones, Chase Ross, David Joplin, Ben Gold coming off the bench, Sean Jones, Trey Norman, Demarius Owens, Royce Parham, and Al Amadou. Cam Jones is going to be the guy next year without a doubt. Last year they had three key options with Ighodaro, Kolek, and Cam Jones. Even Stevie Mitchell, Joplin, they were all good. Now it's going to be Cam Jones. I think this team will go as far as Cam Jones takes them, which is why I'm a little bit nervous about this team, but got them in the 25 spot. At 26, I do have Mississippi State. Mississippi State's flying under the radar right now. Their backcourt I would put up against with just about anyone in the country. Kanye Clary, transfer from Penn State. Josh Hubbard, who made a name for himself last year come SEC tournament time. Riley Kugel, the transfer from Florida. Cam Matthews and Keyshawn Murphy, that's your starting five. I love that backcourt of Clary, Hubbard, and Kugel. I think they're a borderline top 25 team. Coming off the bench, Claudel Harris, Sean Jones Jr., Delaquan Warren, Eric Payman, and Guy Chol. I like it. I'm a little hesitant on them winning in the tournament because they should win every year, it seems like, and they never do. But we'll see. I'm optimistic about this team this year. At 27, this is going to be an unpopular one. It is Creighton. Creighton I have at 27. I don't have them in the top 25 right now. Stephen Ashworth is back. As I mentioned, they brought in Pop Isaacs, Jemiah Neal, Mason Miller, Ryan Kalkbrenner coming off the bench, Jason Green, Frederick King, Isaac Trott, Ty Davis, Larry Johnson. Their top seven will play a majority of the minutes with Jason Green and Frederick King. I love Ryan Kalkbrenner. I have him as a first-team All-American right now. Stephen Ashworth, it has been learned that he can shoot, which is, I know that sounds fairly simple, but I'm a little bit just... He was able to kind of be that fourth guy last year, behind Shireman, behind Alexander, behind Kalkbrenner. Now being the guy who's your shooter, I don't really love him being the guy. I like him being the... Now, you might say Pop Isaacs is the guy. I don't think Pop Isaacs is the guy, which is exactly why I have them 27th. I like Jemiah Neal. Mason Miller either goes 2 for 2 from downtown or 0 for 4 every single game. I'm not that bought in on Creighton. I know McDermott will figure it out. I think Kalkbrenner's going to average about 20 a game on this team, probably 20, 10, and 3 or 4 blocks. It's going to be ridiculous. They're going to go as far as Ryan Kalkbrenner takes them. I'm not as optimistic about the pieces around him as I am with Cam Jones. So we'll see. We'll see where that leads them going forward. At number 28, I have Kansas State, Jerome Tang's team, who we mentioned picked up the transfer of Onyenso. We also have Doug McDaniel, the transfer from Michigan, Brendan Housen from Villanova, Akor from Samford, and David Ngusan. I don't even know how it's pronounced. I watched him play for, how long has he been in college basketball? I don't even know. But watched him play a while. Don't know how to pronounce his name. He's the only one returning, so it's a transfer team, but I like the pieces. They all fit. Doug McDaniel as the point guard, Brendan Housen as the shooter, Akor who can score from anywhere, Ngusan is that veteran guy, and Onyenso as the defender. Coming off the bench, they got Bay Fall, C.J. Jones, David Castillo, Taj Manning, and then I don't know who the last guy is, Macalib Rich, something like that. I'm not quite sure who he is, maybe a freshman, but starting five. I'm optimistic about the starting five. I like how the pieces fit together. At number 29, St. John's, Rick Pitino's squad. Their backcourt, I think might be the best in the country. A little hesitant on the rest of the team, but Devin Smith, Kadari Richmond, I'd put them up against just about anyone in the country. I also got Aaron Scott, R.J. Lewis, Vincent Iwuchukwu from USC. Coming off the bench, Simeon Wilcher. Simeon Wilcher might start in there somewhere. Maybe I don't know. Lineups are up for grabs, we'll say. Jaden Glover, Zubi El-Jaffor, Brady Dunlap, and Kamen Maker. That's St. John's roster, as mentioned. Devin Smith, so fast. Kadari Richmond, so good. Rest of the team, man, I wanted them to get Jameer Watkins. Jameer Watkins, I'm sorry, Florida State fans. I feel like you're just wasting Jameer Watkins there. Like, Florida State was so bad last year. Their roster is not good again this year. If he'd have went to St. John's, Devin Smith, Kadari Richmond, Jameer Watkins, that's a top 15 roster. Wish he'd have went to St. John's, but hey, I'm sure he got that bag at Florida State. At number 30, team that just kind of crept up out of nowhere, who had a terrific offseason, is Ole Miss. Ole Miss, led by Chris Beard. At the point guard, they got Jalen Murray. Then Matthew Morrell is back, the leading scorer from last year. He was in the NBA draft process. I thought he was going to go pro. I didn't have him coming back, and he came back. This is huge. This is huge for them. They also brought in Sean Padula from Virginia Tech, who is a terrific shooter. Mikael Browns-Jones and Malik Dia, that is a terrific starting five. They also got TJ Caldwell and Dre Davis coming off the bench. Davon Barnes, John Bull. This is a terrific roster. 1 through 7 is very good. This team, I've seen some people have them top 20, and I don't hate it. I got them at 30, probably neutral in terms of everyone, but I'm excited to see what Chris Beard's a terrific coach too. Excited to see what he can do with this team. Moving back to the ACC, the team I have predicted as the third best team in the ACC is Virginia. They got Jalen Worley running the point from Florida State, Day-Day Ames from Kansas State. Isaac McNeely is back for be kind of that leader of that Virginia team. Elijah Saunders from San Diego State, TJ Power from Duke. They also have Blake Buchanan, who might be in the starting lineup somewhere. We'll see. Tane Murray, Andrew Rohde, Jacob Coffey, and Elijah Gertrude. I like the starting lineup, how it fits. I kind of like to see just a little bit of everything. That's why I really liked North Carolina last year preseason, because I'm like, yeah, they got a pass first point guard. They got R.J. Davis, who's a star, Cormac Ryan, who's a shooter. They got Baycott, the rebounder, and then Harrison Ingram, who does a little bit of everything. It's kind of what I see with Virginia in terms, just like I mentioned with who did I just talk about? Oh, Texas Tech, how they just kind of fit well. I think that's kind of the same thing with Virginia. We'll see. They were bad last year offensively. They added pieces that can now score the ball, though. So curious to see how they do this year. Number 32, I got Michigan. Michigan, led by Dusty May, Trey Donaldson at the point, Roddy Gale from Ohio State as the 2. Namari Burnett is back. There were thoughts that he might go pro. He is back. Sam Walters from Alabama at the 4, and Vlad Golden following Coach Dusty May from FAU at the 5. They also got Danny Wolf, who I feel like has to start, but I don't know if they'll start Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden. I feel like they'll just kind of, I hope they can work together. He's from Yale. Also got Reuben Jones, Justin Pippen, Will Shetter, and Durrell Brooks. I like this roster. I liked it earlier more than I like it now in terms of transfer portal ranking stuff. But I'm optimistic. I'll see. Roddy Gale is supposed to be really good, and he wasn't that good at Ohio State. But we'll see how if he can do a little differently at the rival Michigan. At 33, I got Providence, led by Kim English. They got Jaden Pierre, Bensley Joseph Jabri, Abdul Rahim, Bryce Hopkins, Christ Esenedoko, Coming off the bench, Wesley Cardette from Chicago State, Corey Floyd, Rich Barron, and Eli Delaurier. We're going to see. I'm optimistic about this team. If I had to pick right now, I'd say they're going to be right on the bubble once again. I hope they get it done. I really hope. I think for Bryce Hopkins, I hope they get in the tournament this year. I think he's gonna be terrific. I think this is his rebound year. Obviously, after tearing that ACL, it's going to be tough to get back. But without Devin Carter, he's going to have to be the guy. And I like the roster. I like the addition of Christ Esenedoko. I think that's how it's pronounced. Moving on to number 34, I got Oregon, the Ducks. Jackson Shelstad is back. He should be their guy this year, I would think. Jadrian Tracy. Also there, TJ Bamba, the transfer from Villanova. Kwame Evans is back. Nate Biddle is back, along with Keyshawn Bartholomew coming off the bench. Brandon Angel, Des Lindsey, Raheem Moss, and Mookie Cook. I like the starting 6 to 7. I think it's going to be good. I think they're going to be middle of the pack and probably a bubble team once again, but we'll see. At number 35, I got Wake Forest. Wake Forest led by Hunter Salas, who will be a preseason All-American on some team. They also got Parker Fredrickson, Cam Hildreth, Omaha Billu, and Efton Reed. Efton Reed, also a terrific piece for Wake Forest. Hunter Salas, obviously the name to know, but then it's Efton Reed. Trayvon Spillers, Davin Crosby, Juke Harris, Marquez Marion, Vincent Ricchetti. It's going to be a fun team. It's going to be probably another bubble team as I have it right now. I do have them 4th in the ACC, though, so we'll see if that gets them anywhere because of that NC State run last year. But we'll see. I'm curious to see about this Wake Forest team. I'm glad Hunter Salas is back in college basketball, though. At number 36, all the way down at 36, Tom Izzo's Michigan State. I'm not that much of a fan of their roster this year. Jeremy Fears, Jaden Akins, Frankie Fiddler. Frankie Fiddler, the transfer from Omaha, I do like. I just don't really like. I mean, they're okay. The pieces around him, it's okay, which is why I have them in the middle of the pack right now. Cohen Carr, Xavier Booker. Xavier Booker, I thought for sure would be one and done. He was not. Coming off the bench, Trey Holloman, Carson Cooper, Jace Richardson, the freshman son of Jason Richardson, Jackson Culler, Kerr Tang. It's okay. I might be wrong about Michigan State. They'll probably be ranked in the 20s, I'm guessing, in the preseason AP poll. I don't know. I really don't know what to say about Michigan State. That one's a little bit up for grabs. At 37, Rutgers. I had Rutgers ranked for a while, and I was wrong. I don't think they should be ranked. I think they're going to be close to the bubble. It's so hard to win with freshmen anymore. If they would have kept Cliff Omori, I would have had him ranked top 25, 100%. They do have Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. Obviously, those are the 2-star freshmen, along with Tyson Acuff, who will probably be their 3rd best player. Jeremiah Williams, Jamichael Davis. Off the bench, Zach Martini, Jordan Durkak, Lathan Somerville, Dylan Grant, and Bryce Dortch. It all relies on the freshmen, which is why I'm not too confident in ranking them in the top 30 right now. Got them at 37. Staying in the Big Ten for a couple more teams. This will be 4 in a row for the Big Ten. 38, Maryland. Maryland fans are optimistic about this year. I am too. I'm excited to see what they do. They got Julian Reese back, should be their guy. They also brought in Jacoby Gillespie, Selton Miguel, Deshaun Harris-Smith, Derek Queen. I like that starting 5. They also got Rodney Rice, Jordan Geronimo, Pafara Gapare, Malachi Palmer, and Braden Pierce. We'll see. I don't know that much about this many people. I'm not going to act like I did. I kind of did not watch Maryland games on purpose last year because I might have very much so overrated them last year. I was kind of in on that Maryland team, and they were disappointing from the get-go. But I think they got a good chance to rebound this year. At 39, I have USC. USC is one of those teams where it's like if anyone says they know if USC is going to be really good or not this year, they don't. They have a pretty good roster, I think, but I mean, they have 11 transfers. 11 transfers, that's hard to do. Wesley Yates, Desmond Claude, St. Thomas, Chibuzo Agbo, Josh Cohen. It's pretty good. It's a good roster. Terrence Williams, Kevin Patton, Matt Noling, Josh Cohen, Clark Starczyk coming off the bench. I don't know. It's Eric Musselman. I think he'll bring the talent together, but it's hard. It's going to be hard to do. First year in the Big Ten. If I had to choose right now, if I had to bet if they'd be in the tournament or outside the tournament, I'd probably bet outside the tournament, but I'm not sure. Not sure. And at number 40, we do have St. Mary's, the other team that is not a Power 5 team, but I mean, they've been good enough to the point where you got to consider them as part of this list. Their starting lineup looks like Jordan Ross, Augustus Marcelonis, Luke Barrett, Mason Forbes, Mitchell Saxon. Coming off the bench, Paulus Marasakis, Josh Dent, Harry Wessels, Mikey Lewis, and Cade Bennett. We'll see. I mean, they'll probably be behind Gonzaga like always. Well, I guess they weren't this year, so I can't really say that. But I think it's going to be Gonzaga, then them, and then the rest of the WCC. But maybe, maybe. Got a few new teams, Washington State, Oregon State. Maybe it'll be a fun WCC this year. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll get back. We're going to talk about the rest of 41 through 80 right here in a second. Alrighty, we are back and ready to get back into the top 80 list. Let's get right into it at number 41. South Carolina, the Gamecocks of Lamont Paris. Lamont Paris did an incredible job last year. No one can say otherwise. He was terrific. I'm not that big of a fan of the roster, but he's done more with less than more often than just about anyone in the last year, obviously. But their lineup's looking like Jacoby Wright, Cam Scott, Colin Murray Boyles, who might pop off this year, Zach Davis, Nick Pringle coming off the bench, Miles Stute, Trent Noah, Morris Ugasuk, Oka Federico, and Arden Conyers. It's decent. It's not the best lineup, but this is more of a 41 right in the middle. I mean, literally the middle team. Strictly because of Lamont Paris. I give credit to Lamont Paris. I think he's going to do great again this year, and I'd like to see them get a little more NIL money over there. Come on now, South Carolina, you got it. Sticking in South Carolina, are they in South Carolina or North Carolina? I feel like it's something I should know. It's Clemson though. Clemson, led by Chase Hunter, Jaden Zachary, Dylan Hunter, Ian Shefflin, Victor Lakin, the transfer from Cincinnati. They also got Chauncey Wiggins, Dallas Thomas, Ace Buckner, Del Jones, and Asa Thomas coming off the bench. It's okay. It's okay. The loss of P.J. Hall and Joe Girard hurt a lot, but Chase Hunter, he's going to be the guy this year, him and Ian Shefflin. Victor Lakin's good, too. That was a nice pickup. I like the Victor Lakin pickup, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to repeat. Elite Eight last year. Good for Clemson. Hopefully they can get back there at some point. Sticking in the ACC, sticking on teams that made a run to the Final Four last year. Number 43, NC State. The team was not Final Four good last year. I don't care what anyone says. The talent was not Final Four good. It was just an absolute DJ Burns, DJ Horn heater that got him there, along with a Michael O'Connell bank three against Virginia that got him there. He's back for next year. He'll be running the ship. Jaden Taylor as well, Dontrez Style, Brandon Huntley Hatfield, the transfer from Louisville, Mohamed Diarra. I think Mohamed Diarra will probably be he'll make a jump next year. That's what I'll say. They also still have Ben Middlebrooks coming off the bench, Mike James, Marcus Hill, Paul McNeil, Dennis Parker Jr. I don't know what to do with this. I mean, they have Final Four experience on this team. This roster is not very good, quite frankly. It's not bad. Like, it's okay. So I kind of just ranked it as I would if they didn't make the Final Four last year, which is 43rd. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully they prove me wrong. I like NC State. I'm rooting on them, but we'll see going next year. At 44, Miami. I had them up at like in the top 20 earlier, and then they lost Wooga Poplar and Norchad O'Meara, and now they're in the bottom half. Those were their two best players. Nigel Pack is back. Jalil Bethia, number 6 overall recruit, according to ESPN. So good backcourt. They got experience and a new guy with firepower. They also got Brandon Johnson, Matthew Cleveland's back, and then Lynn Kidd, the transfer from Virginia Tech. Coming off the bench, Jalen Blackman. He's the transfer from Stetson, you'll keep in mind. So it's like this roster's okay. They might be a little bit underrated by me right now, but they were 13th or 14th in the ACC last year. That's horrible. They don't deserve any benefit of the doubt. They also got Austin Schwartz, Isaiah Johnson-Arago, Paul Jobit, and Carson Maston. So their top 6 should be good, but their top 5 should have been good last year, and they were not. But we'll see. They might be one of those teams that starts climbing up the AP poll pretty quick, or they might just be bad again. You'll never know. This 40 to 41 stage is kind of one of those where it's like these teams are like, yeah, they're on the fence of like they could be good, or they could be bad. I don't think this team's going to be bad, but I still don't really know how to rank them. It's Louisville, just a disaster the past couple of years. Obviously, they should be better this year. Obviously. Chucky Hepburn, Corin Johnson, Terrence Edwards Jr., Javon Hadley, James Scott as their starting 5. They did lose. They brought in Ali Khalifa as well. They lost him to a medical red shirt because he is hurt. But it's like they brought in a bunch of guys. They brought in a new coach. I like Pat Kelsey. a lot. It's up for grabs. That's all I'm going to say about Louisville. I'm not going to dive too deep and act like I know how they're going to fit because I quite frankly do not. At number 46, kind of the same thing. It's Washington, led by Danny Sprinkle now. They got DJ Davis, Zoom Diallo, the nice freshman, Makai Mason, Tyler Harris, and Great Asabar and his $2 million worth. Chris Conway, Casey Ebekwe, Wilhelm Breedenbach, and then Jace Butler coming off the bench. So it's okay. Not bad. They're up for grabs. I don't know. They could be a tournament team for all I know. Last year they had tournament talent, Mike Hopkins did not do a good job. I don't care what anyone says. He did not do a good job. He's a terrific guy, one of the nicest guys in college basketball, or that was in college basketball. Just they had tournament talent last year, just couldn't get the job done. I think this is tournament talent-ish this year for sure. Great Osbar, Zoom Diallo, DJ Davis. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. We'll see. At 47, Villanova. Villanova climbed a lot with the addition of Wooga Poplar. Not that Wooga Poplar is the most spectacular player in the country, but they just needed a guard so bad. And this also was, they jumped up a ton with Eric Dixon announcing he's coming back as well. So lineup's looking like Jameer Brickus, Tyler Perkins, Wooga Poplar, Malcolm Thomas, Eric Dixon. Wooga Poplar and Eric Dixon is a good two-man punch. That's gonna be tough to deal with. Coming off the bench, Jordan Longino, Josiah Mosley, Enoch Baoki, Matthew Hodge, and Nana Njoku. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to just kind of judge Kyle Neptune like we've done every single year. We'll see how it goes. Is this a tournament roster? I would say it's close, but probably no. I would lean no. And I think Kyle Neptune's going to have to make the tournament this year to keep his job. So I'd be betting on that there's a new head of command there at Villanova next year, but we'll see. I'm rooting for Villanova. Villanova deserves to be at the top of the they went from on top of the world to, wow, what happened? At 48, moving back to the Big 12, I got BYU, led by Kevin Young. They have Dallin Hall, who will probably be their best player this year, I would say. Dawson Baker, Richie Saunders, Trevin Nell, Fusini Traore. They did a good job at keeping a lot of guys, which is really impressive for Kevin Young. They also brought in Kiba Kita from Utah, Isaac Davis, Brooks Barr, Trey Stewart, Jared McGregor. Now, bear in mind, all these rosters are not like completely finalized in general in terms of adding people, and they might be a little bit off. I'm doing the best I can for what I think the roster is going to be. If I'm missing a person, let me know. It really helps everyone reaching out. I'm not a passionate fan base of BYU or any of these schools, really. So if I'm missing anyone, please send it in. But this roster's okay. It's up for grabs. Dallin Hall's going to fire threes. Richie Saunders, Trevin Nell. I don't hate it, but it's like it's going to be different this year, and we'll see. We'll see how they do without Jackson Robinson. At 49, you might notice I haven't mentioned him yet. I got Illinois. I do not like Illinois' roster at all this year. Kylan Boswell, I've been low on him for a very long time. He's a good defender, but offensively, I don't like it. Dre Gibbs, Lawhorn, Ty Rogers, Trey White, Kerry Booth. It's okay, I guess. I think Underwood is a terrific coach. I don't see it with this roster at all next year. Ben Humicris could be really good. 49 might be a little low. Probably push him up to about 40. Yeah, I'll probably make that adjustment. I think looking at it a little more in depth, I'll probably push him up to 40. Yeah, we'll see. I still don't really like this team. Morris Johnson coming off the bench, Keaton Kuchar, Jake Davis, Jason Jaxtis. I have no idea who that is. Might be a freshman. No idea. I'm hesitant. I think Brad Underwood's one of the most underappreciated coaches in the country, but this roster is not my favorite. We'll see. We'll see what they do going forward. At 50, coming in at number 50, we have Pitt. Pitt, another one of those teams where it's like they could be good, they could not, kind of just like they were last year. They could beat good teams. They beat Duke at home, and then you lose by, I think they got beat by like 35 to Duke the first time. So it's like, You got Ishmael Leggett, Jalen Lowe, Damian Dunn, Zach Austin, Cam Corhern. Coming off the bench, Guillermo Diaz-Graham, Papa Conte, Brandon Cummings, Jorge Diaz-Graham. Probably brothers, I'm guessing. Guillermo Diaz-Graham, Jorge Diaz-Graham, I'm guessing. Makes sense, right? And then Amde Ndiaye. Don't know that much about this team, quite frankly. Pitt fans seem to be fairly optimistic, but we'll see. I got them ranked kind of in the middle, right at 50, just like they are every year. It seems we always kind of pair together Pitt and Syracuse, and I have Syracuse next, so it's close. Jaquan Carlos, J.J. Starling, Jair Davis, Chris Bell, Eddie Lampkin Jr. The reason I have him so low, I don't hate this starting five. I don't like Eddie Lampkin Jr. I don't think he's that good. I've said it for a while. Who did I phrase it as? I put Eddie Lampkin Jr. and there was one more. There was one more player similar to Eddie Lampkin. I don't know, but I said they're the most overrated players in the portal. I don't think that was a great pickup for Syracuse. I don't really like it. But coming off the bench, Naheem McLeod, Donnie Freeman, Elijah Moore, Chris Gaddy, and Anthony Clayton. Man, who was that other guy I was thinking of? I can't remember who it was. He's probably on one of these teams. I haven't noticed it yet. but it's okay. I like their backcourt. I like Chris Bell. We'll see. We'll see about Syracuse. I got them right in the middle. Same goes for TCU. I don't quite really know yet. Frankie Collins, Noah Reynolds, Trezarian White, who I love, by the way, love Trezarian White, Vashawn Allett, Ernest Uday Jr., coming off the bench, R.J. Jones, Brandon Wenzel, Jace Posey, Micah Robinson, David Punch. I don't know. I don't know about TCU this upcoming year. We're going to see. They always somehow seem to do. Jamie Dixon does more with less, just kind of like a lot of these coaches, which is why I'm kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt. Got him at 52. At 53, Seton Hall, Shaheen Holloway squad. I had him in my where I picked, in one of the episodes, I picked teams to come in first and last in the conference. I picked Seton Hall last. They have climbed recently because they did get Garway Duel to transfer. They also got Dylan Ade-Owusu to end up coming back to Seton Hall, which is huge. Those two players are huge. Those are probably two of their three best players for next year. Seton Hall's looking like Zion Harmon, Dylan Ade-Owusu, as mentioned, Scotty Middleton, who also came back from the NBA draft, Prince Aligbe, Godswill Arahants. I never know how to pronounce the name. I'm sorry, Godswill. And then coming off the bench, I think Garway Duel will start off the bench, but he's got potential. Isaiah Coleman as well, pretty solid. Gus Yalden, pretty solid. Jasim Felton, David Tuback. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think he did actually a pretty decent job with, it seems, the limited resources that they have. So good for Shaheen Holloway on that part. At 54, I have Nebraska. This is another one of those teams where it's like, if you were to put Nebraska like 35th, I'd be like, yeah, that's okay. If you were to put them 65th, I'd be like, I see it. I don't really know. Raleigh Worcester, Connor Essegian, who I don't like. I know a lot of people are optimistic about Connor Essegian. He was horrible last year, absolutely horrible. I know he didn't play much, but there's a reason he didn't play much. He was overvalued. They also got Bryce Williams, Juwan Gary, Braxton Mia. They lost Rank Mast, which hurts, really hurts. Coming off the bench, Gavin Griffiths, Sam Hoiberg, Andrew Morgan, Nick Janowski, Aaron Eulis. It's just okay. I don't see. I mean, they lost their two best players. I mean, Bryce Williams pretty good, but I mean, Tominaga and Rank Mast, hurts to lose both of them. At 55, I got LSU, Jordan Sears, Jalen Cook, Cam Carter, Tyrell Ward, Jalen Reed coming off the bench, Damian Collins, Mike Williams, Victorious Miller, that's a fun name, Robert Miller, and Curtis Givens. I don't know that much about LSU. I apologize. This is just one of those teams that they were 9-9 in the SEC last year. That's not bad at all. I think this program's on the up, so I kind of just going towards trends here. I don't know that much about this roster outside of Cam Carter, who transferred from Kansas State. That's about all I got. At 56, Northwestern, they are losing Boo Booey, their Lord and Savior. He's gone, but the rest of the roster is kind of sticking around. Ty Berry, Brooks Barnharzer, Nick Martinelli, Luke Hunger, Matthew Nicholson, and then Justin Mullins, Jalen Leach, Black Smith, Keenan Fitzmaurice, KJ Wyndham coming off the bench. Ty Berry, Barnharzer, and Matt Nicholson, pretty good. Not too bad. Martinelli, it's not too bad. They might be a tournament team. 56 is low. They should be a little bit higher. I apologize. Them and Illinois. Big Ten, man, I'm sorry. They should be a little bit higher. Kind of put this together kind of quick, so I apologize for a little bit of laziness there. At 57, Wisconsin, Daniel Freitag, Max Klesmit, John Blackwell, Xavier Amos, Stephen Crowell coming off the bench, Nolan Winter, Cameron Hunter, Chris Hodges, John Tanji, Jack Robeson. It's not great. Losing AJ Storr hurts. Losing Chucky Heckburn hurts. 57 might be a little low. I'm sorry, Big Ten. I don't know why I hate you so much, but we'll see. I don't think they're a tournament team, but 57 might be a little bit low. They might be a little bit low because I have them right ahead of Georgia Tech. And now you might think Georgia Tech, yeah, they're never a great basketball school outside that one year, but I like their team this year. I got them at 58 right now. Javian McCullum, great transfer. I'm so glad he went to Georgia Tech. I think that's going to be fun. Nathan George, Kawasi Reeves, Luke O'Brien from Colorado, and Bay and Dongo. Jalen Forrest, Jaden Mustaf, Darian Sutton, and two names I don't know how to pronounce coming off the bench, so I'm just going to leave them there, but they're probably the 9 and 10 guys. But top 5, that's pretty solid. Starting 5 for Georgia Tech. Damon Stoudemire, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm rooting for Georgia Tech this year. I'd like to see them be a little underdog story. At 59, I have West Virginia. I was optimistic about West Virginia for a while, and then I kind of just kind of just haven't really heard of him for a while. The big ones, obviously Tucker DeVries. He'll probably be he'll be close to an all Big 12 guy. Probably will be all Big 12 guy. They also got Javon Small in from Oklahoma State. They got Sincere Harris from Illinois, Amani Hansberry, Eduardo Andre, Toby Akani, Joseph Yesufu, Aiden Tagalua Nelson, and Ofri Nave. Starting five, I know the starting five, but it's going to be a lot of Tucker DeVries. I think Javon Small is. We'll see. He's up for grabs. If he can really have a solid year, this West Virginia team might be better than some people think. Sticking in the Big 12, Arizona State at number 60. Alston Mason, Adam Miller, B.J. Freeman, Jaden Quaintance, Bashir Jihad, and then Hosan Sainin. Brandon Gardner, Amir Ali, Austin Nunez, and Sammy Yinye. It's better than they were horrible last year. Don't get me wrong. They were horrible. They were 14-18. They were bad. They got Jaden Quaintance, who a lot of people love. I'm not as high on as the freshman. I've seen him 5th through 7 in most projections of just recruiting ranking wise. I'm not that high on him, but they offered him a ton of money, so we'll see. I like Adam Miller. Adam Miller's pretty good. B.J. Freeman, Sainin decommitted from Arizona, went to Arizona State. I think he'll probably come off the bench, but his team's going to be better than last year, I think. But in the Big 12, I think they're going to be up for a pretty big awakening. At number 61, another team where it's like, how do you really rank them? Missouri. They didn't win a game in the SEC last year, yet they had a pretty good offseason, adding Tony Perkins, Mark Mitchell, and Marquez Warwick. They also have Tamar Bates, Jacob Cruz coming off the bench, Aiden Shaw, Anar Boateng, Marcus Allen, Trent Pierces, Peyton Marshall. So it's like, what do you really do with them? A team that doesn't win a game in the conference, I don't feel like you can put any better than 60th. But I do think they did a decent job, and we'll see. We'll see what they do going forward. At 62, I have Oklahoma, Kobe Elvis, Bryson Gooden, Caden Cooper, Jaden Jones, Jalen Moore. Off the bench, Jacob Jones, Kual Atak, Yaya Kite, Luke Northweather, and Dayton Forsyth. It's not a good roster. It's not a very good roster at all. Porter Mosier, I think, is lacking a little bit of NIL money there, but it's like, we've said this on the show before. How is that possible at Oklahoma? I don't know. He's done more with less than quite a few times, so we'll see. He took Loyola Chicago to a Final Four, so we'll see. But, yeah, roster's not looking great. At number 63, I have Minnesota, Mike Mitchell Jr., Brennan Rigsby, Femi Odekule, Parker Fox, and Dawson Garcia. Dawson Garcia, watch out for him this year. He's going to be spectacular. Coming off the bench, Frank Mitchell, Trey Edmonds, Isaac Asuma, Caden Betts, Grayson Grove. This team's going to be as good as Dawson Garcia takes them. Maybe Brennan Rigsby can break out a little bit, but it's going to be the Dawson Garcia show. He's terrific. We'll see how he does next year. Moving on, number 64, I do have Georgia. Georgia's just, every year I kind of have high hopes for him. This year I don't have that high of hopes for him. Silas Demary, I don't know. All I've heard him called is Demary. Tyron Lawrence, Deshaun Montgomery, Dylan James, Asa Noel. Coming off the bench, Blue Kane, sharpshooter, Justin Abson, Dakota LeFew, Simoto Cyril, and Lamarian Jordan. It's not great. I'm not that big of a fan of... I'm not that big of a fan of this roster. I don't think it's great. I do not think they will end up in the tournament next year. That's all I'm going to say. Next up is Vanderbilt at 65, led by Mark Byington. Now they got the big commitment of A.J. Hoggard. That's going to be their star for next year. They also got Jason Edwards, Chris Manon, Devin McLaughlin, Jalen Carey coming off the bench, Grant Huffman, Tyler Nickel, M.J. Collins, Jaqueline Roberts. It's okay. It's better than it's been. I think it's for grabs whether it's Vanderbilt or Georgia as last place. I would think. Oklahoma doesn't look good either, but we'll see. It's better than last year. Last year if we were making the list, they'd be. There's 80 teams on here. They'd be no higher than 76. So not bad. At 66, I got Thad Matta's Butler Bulldogs. Not a fan of this roster whatsoever next year. Colby King, Jameel Telfort, Patrick McCaffrey, the transfer, Pierre Brooks, Andre Screen, coming off the bench, Jamie Kaiser, Landon Moore, Finley Bizjack, Bowden Kapke, and Evan Haywood, It's not great. It's not a great roster, but we'll see. Now, coming in at number 67, we have the Iowa Hawkeyes. I don't like this roster at all. I think it's going to be all Peyton Sandfort, quite frankly. Patrick McCaffrey, gone. The lineup is not good. The lineup's not good. The lineup looks like Drew Thelwell, Josh Dix, Peyton Sandfort, Owen Thelwell, Riley Mulvey, coming off the bench, Cooper Koch, Price Sandfort, obviously Peyton's brother, Brock Harding, Chris Taggio. It's not good. It's literally Josh Dix is okay, and then it's Peyton Sandfort, and it's not a good roster whatsoever. I don't think they're going to end up in March Madness again next year. I'm sorry. Moving on. Let's go to SMU, who is going to be in the ACC. Keep in mind, their lineup looks like Kevin Miller, Carlo Oquendo, BJ Edwards, Jaheim Hudson, and Mitchell Holmes. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting first year in the ACC. AJ George, Johan Traore, Trance Purrier, Trey Utter, Jackson Young coming off the bench. We'll see. We'll see. These teams, a lot of them just up for grab. Obviously, a lot of these names aren't that well known. Moving on, Stanford, Elijah Crawford, Benny Geeler, Ryan Agarwal, Jalen Thompson, Maxime Reynaud. It's going to be Maxime Reynaud. And then the rest, it seems, the only reason I kind of have them this high, this roster's not good, is just Kyle Smith. I love Kyle Smith. Evan Stinson, Alan Cameron, and Cameron Grant coming off the bench. So not a good roster, but I like Kyle Smith, so we'll see. At number 70, these teams, like that's just the beauty of college basketball and just the Power Five. Like these teams, any one of these teams, the Stanford, the Iowa, obviously we've seen it with Illinois before, but I have them ranked low. Any one of them could really take off. And I'm going to say this about Notre Dame as well at 70. Marcus Burton, Braden Shrewsbury. I love Shrewsbury there. I think he's a terrific coach. I think he's underrated. Matt Alico also there. J.R. Canenzi, Tay Davis. It's not the best team, but I like Shrewsbury, and I want them to succeed just so he gets that NIL money back up. Kevin Nije, Julian Roper, Sir Mohammed, Cole Kurta, Logan Imes coming off the bench. You'll notice you don't know a lot of these names. Neither do I, quite frankly, but I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about their future. They just need that one breakout season, and they'll be back on top. At 71, Colorado. Colorado's roster is quite frankly just bad next year. They lost just about everyone and didn't replace anyone great. R.J. Smith, Julian Hammond. Julian Hammond will probably be the guy this year. They also got Trevor Baskin, Andrzej Jakimovsky. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Definitely did. Bengot Dak. Coming off the bench, Andrew Crawford, Sebastian Rancic, Asan Diop, Felix Casares, and Courtney Anderson. Not a good team. Not a good roster. I don't think they will have near as much success as they did last year, but they did have a solid season. We'll see. At number 72, I have Cal, Christian Tucker, Andrei Stojakovic, Joshua Ala Joseph, Rightus Petritis, Mady Sissoko. I don't like it. I don't think Mady Sissoko is very good at all, quite frankly. It's going to be as far as Stojakovic takes him. Mady Sissoko was not good. I know he had injury problems, so it's hard to talk bad about him, but this roster I don't think is very good. BJ Omot, Devin Curtis, DJ Campbell, Lee Dort, Jeremiah Wilkinson. The roster's not great. I have kind of a faith over there, but definitely not my favorite. Number 73, I do got Penn State, the last team in the Big Ten. Not too sure about this team, quite frankly. They kind of showed some signs last year, but then just choked everything you can ever imagine away in just about every second half. We got Javen Carter, DeMarco Dunn, Nick Kern Jr., Puff Johnson, Zach Hicks, and then coming off the bench, they got Eli Rice, Freddie Dillon, Miles Goodman, Kachin Enze. Not great. I think it's last for the Big Ten for sure. I think they are without a doubt the favorite to come in last in the Big Ten next year. Did they come in last in the Big Ten last year? I think Michigan did, but this year I think it should be Penn State. At 74, I do have Florida State. I don't like the roster whatsoever. Daquan Davis, Chandler Jackson, Boston Holt, Jameer Watkins. I love you, Jameer Watkins. I'm sorry that you have to deal with this team. Jerry Dang, coming off the bench, AJ Swinton, Taylor Bolin, Justin Thomas, not the golfer, the basketball player Justin Thomas, Christian Nidu. It's not great. Not a good roster. I don't like it whatsoever. Same goes for Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, the team that I don't have last in the Big 12, actually. Arturo Dean, Jamiron Kelly, Marcellus Avery, Robert Jennings, Devontae Davis, Brandon Newman, Khalil Brantley, Brooks Manzier, Jeremiah Johnson. Not great. Not great. 76, or following Oklahoma State, Utah. Utah, not good. Myro Little, Mason Madsen, Jackson Johnson, Keanu Dawes, Lawson Lovering, Zach Keller, Jake Wallen, Caleb Lohner, the transfer from Baylor, remember, and Jerry Huang. Not great. Not a good roster. It'll be, I'm fairly certain, place your bets, it's going to be Utah, Colorado, or Oklahoma State that comes in last in this conference. At 77, I do have Georgetown. Now, I've said it before, I see some things in Georgetown, but they're not like good enough. I think, here's my take about Georgetown. How many games do they play in the Big East? He'll play 18 games. They will go 4-14, but they will beat UConn or Marquette in the game. They kind of have some weird juju there. Malik Mack from Harvard, Jaden Epps, who can score. That's what I'll say about him. I'll be positive. Curtis Williams, Micah Peavy from TCU, Drew Fielder. It's like they weirdly kind of got some talent, but Thomas Sorber, Kayvon Mulready, Drew McKenna, Caleb Williams coming off the bench. It's not a good team, but they've kind of weirdly got some dudes who every once in a while, like Jaden Epps, might pop off for a 30 ball. It's not good, but we'll see. That's my bold take for the year. They will beat UConn or Marquette this year. Moving on, 78, right behind Georgetown. DePaul, I don't have them last. I have them 78th out of 80. DePaul, Chris Holtman's squad. Connor Enright, CJ Gunn, JJ Triner, NJ Benson, David Skogman. This is basically a mid-major all-star team, and it's not bad. Chris Holtman, I thought, did pretty good with the resources he has there. They also got Isaiah Rivera, David Thomas, Pat Sumik, Troy D'Amico, and Jacob Meyer. It's not a good team, but, it's going to be better than they were last year because you literally cannot be worse. Moving on, 79, Virginia Tech. No good whatsoever. Hygier Miller, Rodney Brown, Ben Burnham. I don't know who any of these players are, quite frankly. Virginia Tech, did I miss that many Virginia Tech? I know who Hygier Miller is and Rodney Brown. I don't know, I think the rest of them. Patrick Wessler, Potier, I'm just going to say the last name, don't know how to pronounce the first name. Ryan Jones, Tobu Lawa, Jaden Young. I'm just embarrassing myself by trying to say these names. I don't know really anyone on the Virginia Tech roster. That's usually not a good thing, as I study college basketball quite a bit. They're not going to be good. They're going to be horrible. Have them 79th and 80th. Boston College, Dion Brown, Josh Beadle, Donald Hand Jr., Hayden Hastings, Chad Venning, coming off the bench, Chaz Kelly, Luca Toes, Fred Payne, Elijah Strong, Nick Petronio. Not good. Not good. Boston College, Virginia Tech, DePaul. I think they're going to be battling for the worst team in the power conferences next year, although maybe one of those Big 12 teams just can't win a game, the Utah, Colorado, or Oklahoma State. But we'll see. We'll see. It's all up for grabs. This is really early. We still got transfers to commit. Still got a lot of things to do. Now, these were just kind of written down as I saw them first off my mind. So some teams might be moving up, just like I mentioned. Northwestern, Illinois, probably ranked them a little too low. They will move up a little bit. The top 10, I think, is firmly set, though, unless Auburn were to grab like Coleman Hawkins or something, which I don't think is going to happen. Probably move them in the top 10. Same goes for Purdue. But right now, I think the top 10 is set, and I think it's in order pretty set of what I would do. It's not going to be like that. Kansas, I think, will be preseason number 1. I think it'll go Kansas, Alabama, Duke, UConn, maybe in the preseason. We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited. College basketball, it's getting kind of close. Kind of close. What, 4 or 5 months? 5 months away, just about. So we're getting there. We're going to get through with all these podcasts, keeping you up to date. We still got a lot to talk about. Appreciate everyone for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed the 1 through 80 rankings. Hopefully you don't hate me too much. Illinois and Northwestern, you have a reason to hate me. I'm sorry. They should be moved up. Graham Ike, you also have a reason to hate me. I'm sorry. You're better than I think. You're a good basketball player. We'll see. Till next time. See you later. Have a safe week.